Hello and welcome to the Path to Freedom podcast, a weekly podcast with the intention to inspire, empower, and uplift us all to develop a healing consciousness that we, that is you and me, may forever allow for greater and grander versions and expressions of who and what we are to emerge with ease, grace, and spiritual dignity. My name is Daniel Roquillo, and I am your host. Blessings, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Path to Freedom podcast. This podcast about waking up, about allowing for greater and grander expressions of who and what we are to emerge, about living in peace and joy and harmony, freedom, regardless of circumstances and conditions and other people and what they are doing or what they're not doing. It's about tapping into who and what we are, the truth and the essence of who and what we are. My name is Daniel Roquillo, and I am the host of this podcast. If you have tuned in before, I welcome you back. I'm glad that you're choosing to join me again. If this is the first time you tune in, I welcome you to this episode and to this podcast, and I trust that it will resonate with your heart and your soul and your mind. Perhaps not your mind, but at least your heart and soul. And this episode is going to be all about meditation. Over the last couple of years, the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about the fundamentals of we've been talking about our spiritual needs, and I've shared and I've described what these spiritual needs are. A spiritual need is something that we do not to survive, but to sustain and raise our vibration. And meditation, of course, obviously is one of these spiritual needs. And then we have physical movement, we have rest, we have creative outlet. Yeah, I think that's it. At least for me, these are my 4 spiritual needs. These are my 4 needs to sustain and raise my vibration. And we've talked about physical movement, but we have not, I don't think we've ever talked about meditation. And this is such a fundamental part of the awakening. So I'm wondering how I have not had that as a topic. It doesn't really matter. We're here now, we're here today, and this is the topic for today. So it's all good, all is well. So peace be still, Daniel. So this episode is going to be all about meditation. We're going to move into, as always, before we get into the episode, we're going to move into a brief meditation and a prayer. I'm going to pray us in, and I'm going to bless us in. And then we're going to talk a little bit about meditation and the different components of meditation and what meditation is and the purpose of meditation and all that. And then we're going to have a meditation session, 10-15 minutes or so. And then perhaps a little bit more talking. And then I'm going to bless us out. So that's the plan for today. There is something within me telling me that I'm forgetting something. I'm about to move into the initial meditation, but there's something within me telling me that I'm forgetting something, but I can't quite get it. Can't quite catch it. So, oh well, all is still well. So peace again, be still. So in this moment, I invite us all to close our eyes. I invite us to make ourselves comfortable, whether we're sitting or standing up or laying down or perhaps out walking or jogging. If you're out walking or jogging, it's a bit of a challenge to make yourself comfortable. But if you're still, if you're sitting or standing or lying down, I invite you to make yourself as comfortable as possible, because meditation is all about comfort. I invite us to close our eyes. I invite us, as always, to gently tap between our eyebrows, activating that first eye, the one eye, the divine eye, the spiritual eye, allowing us to catch that which cannot really be caught with our human senses. As always, I invite us to smile, partly because there's nothing serious about meditation. Meditation is joyful practice, and partly to let our bodies know that all is well, that they may release and that they may release good for the body chemicals, tonic chemicals. I invite us to place our hands in our lap, palms facing upward, thumb and middle finger touching. That's another sign of receptivity. And I invite us to set an intention. You could just tag along in my intentions, or you can set your own intention. But whatever intention we set, we want it to be a high intention. We're not meditating to manipulate anything, but we're simply meditating to basically wake up to who and what we are. And I've augmented that intention with my two other supreme intentions, which are to forever allow for greater and grander expressions of that who and what to emerge, and to be greater teacher and healer than I've ever imagined. So these are my intentions. These are my intentions for meditating. And as we turn within, we turn our attention toward our breath, realizing that the body is fully capable and able of breathing, of do the breathing. So we need not participate in the breathing. We need not make the breathing happen. We can simply relax and observe the breathing as it happens. And should our minds drift, we gently and lovingly turn them back to the breath, and we begin again. And so we take on the feeling tone that all is well. So peace, be still. Come back to the breath and begin again. Come back to the breath and begin. And say briefly move into prayer, into blessing us in. I invite us all to remain with our eyes closed, attention fixed on our breath. We may be open and available to catch the vibration of the prayer, giving permission to lift us even higher, to an even higher vibration, a higher frequency. And so in this moment, how grateful I am. How grateful I am for our willingness to come back to the nowness of this moment. How grateful I am for the peace that is here, that we are. The love that is here, that we are. The joy that is here, that we are. The wholeness that is here, that we are. The harmony that is here, that we are. The beauty that is here, that we are. The intelligence that is here, that we are. I'm so grateful for us having said yes to embark upon this adventure of awakening, this path to freedom, path of enlightenment, for our willingness to do the work, for our willingness to withdraw from the world, from seeking to have the world give us what we think we need. And so I'm so grateful for this podcast that keeps moving and touching and inspiring and uplifting, empowering each and every one of us to forever move deeper and higher and wider, to forever allow for greater and greater expressions of who and what we are to emerge. I'm so grateful for the technology that allows all of this to be. And I'm so grateful for this space, this sanctuary of mine that hosts this podcast, that hosts this space that this podcast is creating. And I'm so grateful for your participation in this. It wouldn't be what it is without you. So thank you for tuning in, for participating, for raising the vibration, for expanding the consciousness of this field. Thank you. From this space of gratitude, I'm grateful to know and feel the allness and the goodness and the eternality of spirit. That God is all there is. Everywhere we look, there God is fully present in every space and in every place. God being both the creator and the creation, eternally sourcing and fueling and funding itself, sustaining and maintaining itself, guiding and leading and moving itself into ever higher, greater, and grander expressions of who and what it is, in, through, and as all of creation. Which means that right where we are, right where you are, right where I am, Spirit is fully present. We, you and me, are Spirit expressing itself in us and through us, in us and through you, in us and through me. We're all unique and perfect emanations of this Godhead. So right where we are, we have everything we need to keep moving, to keep going even deeper and wider and higher, to keep expanding into higher levels of consciousness, to keep allowing for greater and greater expressions to eternally emerge. And I'm grateful for this practice of meditation, and for the rich offerings of transformation, of growing, unfolding, of releasing and letting go that it carries. I'm grateful to know and feel that all is well. Right where each of us is, all is well. Something wonderful is happening in every single moment, in every single space and place. Right where each being in all of creation is. Right where each object in all of creation is. In every space, something wonderful is happening. And everything is working for our good. I know it, I feel it, I accept it, I give thanks for it, I allow it to be. I allow it to be. I allow it to be. So it is, so be it, so shall it be. Welcome back. I think I need to find another phrase because we're not coming back to where we started. Since we started during this brief meditation, it is only a brief moment of meditation coming into these episodes, and it's only a brief moment of prayer. But these moments of meditation and prayer, they lift us. They raise our vibration. They elevate us to a higher level of frequency. So we're not coming back. I'm going to ask Spirit to guide me to another way of saying it. It doesn't feel right to say that we're coming back because we're not. Anyhow, anywho, meditation. Perhaps you've been meditating for a long time. Perhaps you're just beginning to meditate. Perhaps you haven't really begun to meditate. But regardless, I'm trusting that this episode and the way that Spirit is going to flow through me is going to expand our meditation practice and also our understanding of what meditation is. I remember many years ago, this is like 15 years ago, maybe even more, when I first began to meditate. And I did begin to meditate because I had heard that meditation was a part of spirituality, and that spiritually minded people, they meditated. And I thought of myself back then as spiritual. I did not have a spiritual practice, and I was curious as to who and what God is, but I was not living a spiritual life in that sense. But I had heard that spiritual people meditate. So I began to meditate, and I had this perception as to what meditation is and what it's going to bring me. I thought it was to bring me something. And what I wanted it to bring me was peace of mind, because my mind was racing. I was so sick and tired of the mental chatter in my mind. And so I desired a space where all of that would stop. Sort of a quiet space where there was nothing but bliss and ecstasy and joy and love. And so I began meditating, and I would sit on my couch. I remember it vividly. I would sit on my couch, I'd light incense, I'd light some candles, and I would sit cross-legged. Now, I have never been very flexible, so sitting cross-legged for me, it's very, very uncomfortable. It's not enjoyable at all. But I had seen images, probably, of people meditating and they were sitting cross-legged. So I figured, if I am to meditate, I'm supposed to be sitting cross-legged. So that's how I sat. And I set a timer on it was probably a watch back then. I don't have a watch now, but I didn't have a smartphone, or I didn't even have a phone when I began to meditate. So somehow I set a timer, and I told myself that I was to meditate until the time was up. And so I'd close my eyes, and I would desire that peace. But my God, there was no peace at all. I mean, if anything, this me being still, me not moving, and me not having any distractions. I was not playing music. I was not watching a movie or TV or anything. I was not talking to anyone. That only served to amplify the chatter in my mind. Or perhaps it was not amplified, but I became more aware of it. I became more conscious of the endless and relentless stream of nonsense thinking, thoughts pertaining to nothing, thoughts dealing with nothing. And I remember I was very frustrated, and there were so many times when I would quit and end the meditation long before the time was up, because I thought it no use to meditate. How can I be meditating when this voice in my mind won't shut up? That's the approach, and that was my understanding then. I sat to meditate to get the voice to shut up, but it wouldn't shut up, so I couldn't meditate. And it came to the point where I completely stopped meditating. I gave it up for a few years, perhaps. And then I picked it up again 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, or something like that again, with a slightly different, a little bit more patient and a little bit more understanding and compassion as to what meditation is. So let's talk a little bit about what meditation is. Because many people that I talk to, not many people that I talk to meditate, but of those that do meditate, many of them have a preconception of what meditation is, and a perception of what meditation is that doesn't really serve them. That is quite like what my perception was back then. So meditation is not about quieting the mind. It's not about shutting that mental chatter up, that voice in the head. It's not about muting anything. But meditation is always and only about coming back to the nowness of this moment, being fully present in the nowness of this moment, with whatever this moment contains, where we get to observe that which is. So that is what meditation is all about. It is not about reaching some sublime state. Oh, and when I picked it, let's digress again. Because when I picked the meditation up a number of years ago, I did so with a spiritual counselor. I guess you could call her that. And we were talking about meditation, and she explained it. The way she meditated was that whenever she meditated, she went into almost an alternate state. She went into a deeply relaxed state where she had sort of out-of-body experiences, sort of lucid experiences. And so as I was talking to her about meditation, I thought that what meditation was about. That unless I have these experiences while I'm meditating, I'm doing something wrong. But that's not what meditation is about either. I mean, you could use meditation to expand our consciousness and to perhaps call forth such spiritual experiences. But that's not the purpose of meditation. The purpose of meditation, I remember what I forgot before we went into doing meditation. I forgot to name the topic for today, which is meditation, the pathway to freedom. Because that is what meditation is about. It's about allowing for the freedom that is inherent within us to come forth. It's about allowing the freedom that comes from realizing that we are not our thoughts, and we are not our emotions, and we are not our experiences, but we are the presence that observes these. So meditation, this is one of the benefits of meditation, But as we come back to the nowness of the moment, and as we, in that nowness of the moment, learn to gradually observe, not be pulled in by our thoughts, not be caught up by opinions and judgments and ventures into time, into the past or into the future. All these things and all this stuff that the mind does. As we come to realize that we are none of that stuff, but we are the observer. We are the space in which all this stuff happens. We are not the stuff, but we're the space where it happens. Sort of like, I like Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith's description of consciousness. And he has this analogy. He says that the ocean is the ocean, a body of water. And in the ocean, there's content. There's fish, there's pollution, there's seaweeds, there's all these beings and all this stuff. But none of the stuff that is in the ocean is the ocean. And this is the same with us. We are consciousness. We are pure consciousness, pure awareness. And in this field of awareness, stuff comes in, stuff moves through. We're not it, but it moves through our awareness. It moves through our consciousness. So coming back to the nowness of this moment, being fully present in the nowness of this moment, which is what meditation is all about, we get to gradually come into the awareness that this is what we are. And gradually a space opens up. As we, through meditation, and we can meditate what I call formal meditation, which is what we did right now, or what we just did, when we set aside time to actually be still. And then we can use our moments in between to come back to the nowness of the moment. Both are meditation. Whenever we are fully present in the nowness of this moment, we are meditating. When we get pulled into time, we are not meditating, even though we may have set aside time to be meditating. But meditation is these brief or longer moments and periods where we are fully present. That is what meditation is. So I can set a 30-minute timer and seek to go into meditation. I can sit for my 30 minutes, but I'm actually only meditating perhaps 6 minutes out of those, or 10 minutes out of those, or 25 minutes out of those. But whenever my mind drifts, or whenever our minds drift, we are not meditating, really. We're practicing and we're preparing and we're building our strength, our presence muscles, but we are not really meditating unless we are fully present in the nowness of this moment. And in the nowness of this moment, the more we come back to the nowness of this moment, either through formal meditation or through some of the means, the space opens up where we begin to, the space between us, between the consciousness that we are and the content, the stuff that flows through the consciousness. A space that allows us to observe whenever opinions arise, whenever judgments arise, whenever the ego begins to act up or play out. That space allows us to not be drawn in, not to be pulled into the stuff, into the experiences. We get We get to take a step back mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and observe whatever is moving through our consciousness. Kind of like if you've ever looked up into the sky and observed the clouds flying by, passing by. Meditation allows us to have that, to build that observing consciousness, where we can observe whatever is moving through our consciousness, whatever is moving through our minds, whatever is moving through our awareness. We can observe it, but we realize that we are not it. We need not engage in it. We need not identify with it. We need not be pulled in by it. So this is the purpose of meditation, to come back to the nowness of this moment and realize who and what we are as spiritual beings, as light consciousness, as divine expressions of spirit. There are different ways of meditating. For the purpose of this podcast and for the way I meditate, as I said, I want to make sure that I'm comfortable. Meditation is not, even though I know that some individuals use it to expand their pain threshold, and they use it for a bunch of different things. But as meditation ultimately is about coming back to the nowness of this moment, I want to make myself comfortable, not too comfortable. I don't want to fall asleep. If I do fall asleep, that's all right. That's okay. But I'm not sitting to fall asleep. That's not the purpose of my meditations, at least. But I want to stay awake. I want to keep awakening. So I want to make myself comfortable. I want to sit. That's how I do it. I want to sit in this chair or on a stool. I like to sit outside. I like to sit with my feet bare so that I'm in touch with the ground or the floor, especially if I'm outside. Whenever I meditate outside, I always take my shoes and socks off, given I'm not meditating outside in the winter, but in the summer, I do meditate outside. So we want to be comfortable. We want to plant our feet firmly on the ground so that we are stable, so that we are, we want to find a stable position. We want to be anchored in the ground. So feet firmly planted. I always want to have my hands, my palms facing upward and thumb and middle finger touching as a sign of receptivity, allowing the chi to flow easily and gracefully. I want to close my eyes, obviously. And then what I do, it's optional, obviously. But what I do, I want to also tap between my eyebrows, that pineal gland, the first eye, the spiritual eye, activating that, making me more open and available to catch insights and guidance and revelations and realizations. What else? Oh, and then as I move into the meditation, I allow my attention to turn to my breathing, the body breathing. The body with its divine intelligence, it's fully capable and able of doing the breathing, and knows exactly when to breathe and how to breathe. So there's an element, and this has been something that I've had to work on quite a lot, surrendering to the body breathing. For a long time, I did the breathing. I consciously participated in the body breathing, in the breathing of the body. So I took the breath and I released the breath. But then I came into the realization and the awareness that that's not coming back to the nowness in this moment, but that's staying in control. That's not surrendering to the nowness of this moment, but that's sustaining a level of control, regaining a level of control. So I had to work a lot, remind myself, remember to remember. Come back, begin again, come back, begin again, come back, begin again. And until I learned, I'm not saying that I always do it. I still sometimes catch myself doing the breathing, but most of the time I surrender the breathing to the body. I give the body permission to do the breathing for me the way it's supposed to be, so that I can be fully present. And another thing, I was, just before I started recording this, I was in meditation, and I was sitting out on our balcony, and there's some construction going on. And these guys, they were banging and they were making noises and they were talking and shouting. And that's a part of meditation. When I, coming back to when I first started meditating all those years ago, I thought I needed to make sure that it was dead quiet when I meditated. So I was living in an apartment, and if the neighbors were making noises, I would wait. If they were vacuuming, or if they were, I don't know, if I heard too much, I would close all windows, so to sort of block out the traffic and whatever was going on outside my apartment. But now I know that all of this is a part of the meditation. All of this is part of coming back to the nowness of this moment. All of this is part of growing and building presence muscles, to learn to stay present even when things happen around, and to not judge whatever sounds as noise, as something that shouldn't be, but to release and let go of all opinions and judgments, and embrace and allow all that is to be as it is. All of this is a part of the meditation. All of this is part of the practice, embracing and allowing everything to be as it is. And whenever opinions arise and whenever judgment arises, we embrace and allow that too, that we may release and let it go. And all of this serves to expand that space of consciousness, of awareness. So there are no bad meditations. And even in the meditation, even if we're meditating, we've set the timer for 30 minutes and move into the meditation and immediately fall asleep, in the sense that our minds drift. And then we wake up after 27 minutes. and we jump in and out of being present for the last 3 minutes. So we embrace and allow that. And if you've been in meditation with me before, that is, if you've tuned in before, you'll hear me say, come back to the breath and begin again. And that's exactly how we want to approach whenever we drift, whenever we get caught up by thought patterns or emotions or whatever the case may be. As soon as we catch ourselves, we come back to the breath lovingly, kindly, compassionately, no judgment, no opinion. Beating yourselves up serves nothing. Serves nothing. So we always want to be loving and kind towards ourselves. So when we catch ourselves, we come back to the breath and we begin again. And then we come back to the breath and we begin again. And then we come back to the breath and we begin again. And over a period of time, the moments of awareness, the moments of being fully present will expand and they will grow. And the moments of drifting will decrease and they will begin to dissolve. And perhaps someday, who knows? I don't, because I'm not there. But perhaps someday, the distractions are more or less dissolved. Perhaps. But that's not the aim, at least not for me. That's not the aim of the meditation. That's a benefit, that's a side effect. But that's not the purpose of meditation. I'm not sitting to quiet the mind, but I'm sitting to coming to the realization of who and what I am, that I'm consciousness. I think it's about time to have a little bit of practice. One more thing. As we turn our attention toward our breath, and this is something that I've quite recently become aware of. When we turn our attention to the breath, and you perhaps have heard me say to the full breath, and the breath can be likened to a circle. The circle has no beginning and it has no end. And so it is with the breath. It has no beginning, it has no end, but it's ongoing. It's non-stopping. But if there was a beginning, let's say we would begin with the in-breath. So we have the in-breath, and then there's a slight pause between the in-breath and the out-breath. So there's the in-breath, there's a pause, there's the out-breath, and then there's a pause. And this is a full breath. And it was a couple of months ago, I believe, that I realized that I had a tendency to drift, mostly in between the out-breath and the in-breath. Because as I let my breath out, I sort of relaxed, thinking that I was home, that I'd made it. And in that moment of, for lack of a better word, when I let my guard down, that's when I drifted away into a thought or into the chatter. So I became aware of this and I realized that I want to and I need to keep my attention on my breath for the full breath, unceasing attention. So as to not relax when I've exhaled, because the breath is not complete yet. And so I invite you to turn your attention toward this and experiment a little with this as we move into the practice in a brief moment. Just observe how the breath flows, like circle of life. And seek, that's my invitation for you to seek to be fully present with the breath throughout the whole circle, throughout the whole breath, the full breath. All right? We good? I think we are. I trust that we are. We are good. So in this moment, as the music begins to play again, I invite us all to close our eyes. I invite us all to make yourselves comfortable. Put a smile on our faces, informing ourselves and informing our bodies that all is well. Gently tap between the eyebrows. Activating that first eye, the spiritual eye, the divine eye. Making ourselves open and available, open and receptive to catch insights and revelations and realizations. So I invite us to place our hands in our lap, palms facing upward, thumb and middle finger touching. And set the intention to meditate, to wake up. We turn our attention to our breath, to the full breath, and we let it stay there. And should our minds drift, gently, lovingly turn them back toward our breath. Begin again. Taking on the feeling tone that all is well, so peace, be still. Come back to the breath and begin again. Come back to the breath and begin. Come back to the breath and begin again. Come back to the breath. Come back to the breath and begin again. Come back to the breath and begin again. A bit longer. Come back to the breath and begin again. We can begin to not come back, but still come back. Whenever you feel ready, you may open your eyes. So that was a brief moment of meditation. And I want to just thank Spirit for this space. I want to thank us for our willingness to actually practice stillness, to actually practice coming back to the nowness in this moment. And in a brief moment, I'm going to bless us out. But before that, I just want to say that when beginning to meditate, it's not at all about the number of minutes that we sit. It's not a contest. But the most important thing in beginning to meditate is to do it, to create a habit out of it. It's so much better to do it for a few minutes every day than for 30 minutes once or twice a week. The more we come back to this space, the smoother the ride, the purer the ride. All right. If you during this episode, during the meditation or during my talking, have caught any insights or revelations or guidance in some kind of way, I invite you to make a note of it, to record it in some way so that you remember it, and even more importantly, that you allow it, that you give it permission to move you into action. Because we want to always live in the field and in the space, constantly growing, unfolding, allowing for greater and greater expressions of who we are to emerge. And that emergence comes about through us being willing to change. So use these insights, use these guidances, these revelations. One last thing before we bless out. I have been talking about over the last couple of weeks about the Path to Freedom live streams. I have now set a date that we're beginning next Wednesday. So Wednesdays are going to be like the Path to Freedom theme day of the week, with a podcast coming out in the morning, depending on where you are in the world, and then live streams. The live streams, they will be held every Wednesday at 2:00 p.m. Swedish time. And I've been going back and forth about the time for these live streams. And I made the choice to make it Swedish time for the simple reason that here in Sweden, we have daylight saving time. We move the clock either back or forward twice a year. Not all countries do that. I know that some other countries do that, but not all. So it'd be a mess for me to keep track of. Let me reverse. It'll be so much easier for me to just keep it in Swedish time, and then all you guys are going to have to make sure that you find the right time and figure out what time, how that translates into wherever time zone you are in. So starting next Wednesday at 2:00 Swedish time, on my Facebook, on my Instagram, on my YouTube, you're all invited to come participate in moving and touching and inspiring and empowering, uplifting each other, because these are interactive. It's not just going to be me going on and on and on and on, talking and talking. I do enough of that here. But these live streams, they are meant for all of us to participate, all of us to contribute. So I'm trusting that I'll see you there. It's going to be great. I'm very much looking forward to it. Until the next time, wherever you are and whoever you are, from the bottom of my heart, I bless you and I thank you for having tuned in. I bless your day and I bless your way. Namaste. You have been listening to an episode of the Path to Freedom podcast with me, Daniel Roqueo. I invite you to stay tuned for more episodes. If you have any questions or comments or just want to get more inspiration and empowerment, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. I also invite you to visit my website, danielroqueo.com. I bless your day and I bless your way, you beautiful, wonderful being.